Are your storyboards feeling a little generic and uninspired? Even if you have a storyboard that reads clearly with a story that is working, there is so much to keep track of when storyboarding that sometimes you can miss the little things that could easily push the level of a storyboard from being a good one to a great one. My name is Daniel Tal, and I have been a storyboard artist in the animation industry for over 10 years, mostly at DreamWorks Animation. And throughout my career, I have picked up on a few things that can hopefully help you plus your storyboards. Tip 1. Loosen up your drawings. It is so easy to get distracted while storyboarding and end up overworking your drawings. After all, it's our instinct as artists to try and make things look pretty. So while this may sound counterintuitive, spending less time working on your drawings will actually help your storyboards feel more alive and easier for an audience to read, which at the end of the day is kind of your goal as a storyboard artist, to communicate something clearly through your panels. Try avoiding drawing your panel like an illustration. You want clean, flowy lines that are fast and easy to draw and look effortless. You can see here how stiff these drawings feel when I spend time trying to make it look more on model, and when I use construction lines to try to make the drawing feel more structured. However, when I draw more gesturally, these drawings immediately end up feeling more appealing and clear, breathing more life into my drawings and ultimately my storyboards. My goal is to always get an efficient shorthand so my storyboards aren't a pain for me to draw, and more importantly, aren't a pain for me to redraw, because there is nothing worse than having to scrap a drawing that you poured your soul into. Tip 2. Make your environment feel real. Characters aren't the only part of your storyboards. The world in which your characters live in should be just as important for making your storyboard feel rich and real. Make it feel as if it's an environment that exists even without your characters being in them, and exists even outside of the story you're telling. It's very easy for the background to be pushed, well, into the background. I want to show you guys two examples of a girl exploring the forest just trying to get through, both a wide and a close-up. In this first version, I'm showing her walking through and being annoyed, just a basic grid with some trees. I mean, it works, but it feels like it's missing something. Now, I'll show the same scene, but I'm gonna add some more interesting elements to the environment. I'm gonna have her slide down a little hill before stepping over some roots, leaping from stone to stone and almost falling into a little stream before brushing away some ivy and continuing her journey. Yes, this example is a little exaggerated, but incorporating little things throughout your story can really help elevate it to a new level. Let's be honest, which forest ends up feeling more real and speaks more to this character and her situation? Sometimes the story does call for something simple. Yes, the first version can work, but really take into consideration just how much your environment can aid in helping you tell your story. Tip 3. Avoid generic acting with your characters. Making your characters feel believable is a big turning point in creating engaging stories. Oftentimes when storyboarding, we end up falling into these pitfalls of generic acting. A hand behind the head, hands on the hip, the infamous teapot pose, etc., etc. While sometimes these can be the right choice, these choices are typically just used to fill up dialogue without thinking about how to make a character actually feel like themselves in that moment. There are so many ways a character can act, it can be quite overwhelming. And usually just having a character interact with the environment, remember like the tip from before? Or an object, like if they're in the middle of a task or fidgeting with something, can help you decide on how you want to play your character throughout the scene. Let's say you have a character having a drink on a chair, saying the line, "Did you do it?" You could have them sit in the chair, take a sip, and say the line. But how else can we more clearly show this character's personality? Maybe they are leaning forward in the Z-axis more aggressively. Maybe they're nervous and using the cup as an object to hide behind. Maybe they're leaning on a chair very nonchalantly and looking elsewhere as they say their line. There are so many more interesting ways to show what might feel like a cut and dry line. Taking a few moments to really flesh out your character's acting and flesh out their personality can drastically improve a storyboard. Tip 4, you don't always have to shoot your characters. No, not with a gun like I meant with the camera. Like, you don't always have to have your characters on screen. Jumping off of the last point of character acting, there's other ways to shoot dialogue or your characters without, well, always having to look at them. I actually find that Japanese animation does this well. When a character is talking and we cut away from them to something else, maybe it's scenery or a close-up of their hand or even the other person reacting. We do this to break up the monotony of a scene or to enhance what the character might be talking about. Maybe we cut to a character's fist when they're angry. Maybe we cut to a bird flying in the sky if a character is talking about freedom. Yeah, it sounds cheesy, but it is a way to symbolize what your character's talking about and help drive in the points you're trying to make with your dialogue. Maybe two people are talking at a bar and we stage the camera looking at their backs while we can see how seedy the bar is in the foreground and background. It doesn't always have to be something so corny, but you get it, right? Sometimes you can drive home the point of some dialogue without having to show your characters actually saying it. Don't think the audience always needs to be staring at your characters just because they are talking. And yes, I am still very guilty of doing this, but I have found that this is a good way to add diversity into simple dialogue scenes. Tip 5, find unique shots. And no, I don't mean every shot has to be different and stand out, but having staging that breaks the flow of a scene can really help your story feel special and unique. Now, obviously this shouldn't get in the way of storytelling, but it can help break up a simple staging setup and help reinvigorate your audience. Instead of cycling the same 3 shots over and over, perhaps we can find a cooler option. Let's go back to the bar scene. Maybe we can show a shot through beer that has spilled on a counter and it's reflecting our characters. Maybe there could be a shot through a bottle in the foreground. It could be a fun way to show one character as feeling more drunk than the others. They're kind of like distorted through the glass of the bottle. Maybe it can be a cool wide shot that the audience isn't expecting. Maybe a wide angle lens, or maybe it's through the perspective of someone else. The world is literally your oyster. Just be careful of spamming these more interesting shots, as it could lead to fatigue when someone's looking at your storyboards. Just try to balance out your shot variety so your audience has time to mentally rest. Promare. And when an interesting shot does pop up, it feels unique, it feels special, it makes someone go, oh wow, I didn't see that one coming. And that's it. And these tips aren't necessary for a successful storyboard. A clear story can be told without doing these things, obviously. However, these are things that can help your story feel stronger and stand out. Don't worry about hitting every single one of these tips in every single storyboard that you do. But I hope you can incorporate 1 or 2 of them into your next story, and I hope that these tips can help you improve on your storyboarding journey. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you want to see next. Bye.